Hi AP. Okay, today we are going to do an introduction to 7th chords. What are they? What are the parts of 7th chords? How do we identify them? And how many are possible? So get ready to take some notes. 7th chords. 7th chords are chords consisting of a triad plus an interval of a seventh above the chord's root. In other words, another belly is added to our triad snowman. There are more than 5 types of 7th chords, but we're going to be focusing on the 5 types of 7th chords that are most commonly used. And they are the major 7th, note the abbreviation, capital M7, the minor 7th chord, lowercase m, with the line please, followed by a 7. Then we have the half diminished 7th, which is a circle with a slash through it representing half diminished, and then the number 7. Then there's the diminished 7th, or sometimes referred to as the fully diminished 7th, which is just a diminished circle with a 7. And finally, the dominant 7th, which is indicated by the number 7. Please feel free to pause this video at any time if you still need to take notes. Okay, how do you build or identify a 7th chord? Well, step 1 would be to build a snowman with 2 bellies. In other words, line, 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 or space, 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 space. Step 2 would be to check the triad and added 7th. Here you will find the 5 types of 7th chords that we already discussed in the last frame. And if you look carefully at the first one, it is a major 7th. So let's figure out the intervals that make up a major 7th chord. R means root, 3 is 3rd, 5 is 5th, and 7 is 7th. So in our major 7th chord, we have from root to 3rd, a major 3rd, from 3rd to 5th, a minor 3rd, and from root to 7th, a major 7th. So there's a really easy way to remember major 7th chords. Major 7th chords, they consist of a major triad and a major 7th from root to 7th. So just a quick recap of the major 7th. When you think of major 7th, think of major triad and a major 7th. The next one up is the dominant 7th, very important 7th chord, which we'll come to realize. So in the dominant 7th, we have from root to 3rd, a major 3rd, from 3rd to 5th, a minor 3rd. So that's also going to be a major triad. But here's the difference. From root to 7th, we have a minor 7th, not a major 7th. So our dominant 7th triad, or 7th chord, consists of a major triad plus a minor 7th. You will come to realize soon when we start part writing and voice leading with 7th chords that the dominant 7th chord occurs frequently in chord progressions. And if you're a fan of solfege, you'll also realize that the dominant 7th chord is built from the 5 chord of a major scale, meaning it will sound like this: Sol, Ti, Re, Fa. But more on that later. Our next type of 7th chord is the minor 7th chord. So in the minor 7th chord, you can probably guess that we're going to have a minor triad and a minor 7th. Let's break it down by the intervals. So from root to third, we have a minor third, and from third to fifth, we have a major third. So here, in a minor 7th chord, we have a minor triad. And from root to 7th, a minor 7th. So let's recap on the 3 types of 7th chords we've already studied more in depth. The first up is the major 7th chord. In the major 7th chord, we have a major triad plus a major 7th. In the dominant 7th chord, we have a major triad plus a minor 7th. And in our minor 7th chord, we have both a minor triad and a minor 7th. So now we'll scroll down and we'll talk about the other 2 types of 7th chords we need to study. First up is the half diminished 7th. Remember that when we deal with half diminished 7th, we have to put a slash through the diminished sign, indicating that it's only half diminished and not fully diminished. So in our half diminished 7th chord, you guessed it, we're going to have a diminished triad, because from root to third we have a minor third, and from third to fifth we also have a minor third. And we know that superimposed minor thirds make up a diminished triad. In the half diminished 7th chord, we have a minor 7th from root to 7th. Let's explore the diminished 7th, or fully diminished 7th chord. So we also have a diminished triad, just like the half diminished 7th, because from root to third we have a minor third, from third to fifth we have a minor third. So there is our diminished triad. But in the diminished 7th, or fully diminished 7th chord, we have a diminished 7th interval from root to 7th. It's important to note that underneath all of these diagrams of 7th chords, there are examples of guitar or piano chords. And those, if I were to play piano using a lead sheet, let's say with just a melody and those symbols actually indicate to me what type of 7th chord I should be playing to accompany the music. You see in the first one, the major 7th has a C capital M7. Sometimes it's also written as CMA7 or CMAJ7 or C with a triangle 7. Those all mean the same thing, that I am to play major 7th chords. And you can look at the other examples of those guitar and piano chords underneath the additional 7th chords. But you should just be aware that they exist, and I'm sure you've seen them before in music. Okay, so let's review our half diminished 7th. In our half diminished 7th chord, remember that we have a diminished triad and a minor 7th interval from root to 7th. And in our fully diminished 7th chord, we have a diminished triad and a diminished 7th from root to 7th. Now, we can explore all of these 7th chords even further to help us with our knowledge and understanding of them. So for example, what I'd like to do now is take a look at each type of 7th chord and just look at the interval from the 5th to the 7th. So in our major 7th chord, if we look carefully at the 5th to the 7th, we have a major 3rd in our major 7th chord. I'll put a little box around it so you can see what I'm talking about right here. So major 7th from the 5th to the 7th is a major 3rd. In the dominant 7th chord, from the 5th to the 7th, we have a minor 3rd. That's important to know. In our minor 7th chord, we have a minor 3rd from the 5th to the 7th. So really the only difference between the dominant 7th and the minor 7th is the quality of the triad itself. In the dominant 7th, you have a major triad. In the minor 7th, you have a minor triad. We can look at the interval from the 5th to the 7th in the half diminished 7th, and we can see that from 5th to 7th, it's a major 3rd. There was a typo, so I had to cross out that and write in the capital M. Major 3rd exists from the 5th to the 7th in a half diminished 7th chord. And the next one would make a lot of sense, because what we do is we take the 7th and we can lower it 1/2 step to make it fully diminished. So in the diminished 7th chord, from 5th to 7th, we have a minor 3rd, not a major 3rd like the half diminished. This will make a lot more sense once we actually take this knowledge and start applying it and building 7th chords, which we're about to do. Okay, so let's go on. Again, pause this video anytime you need to take more notes or to stop and process what it is we're talking about. Here is a diagram I've put together of the 5 most common types of 7th chords. So these are our categories. So here at the top, we have our 7th chords. Right, we're studying 5 of them. And here is the quality of the triad, Remember, when I say the word triad, I'm talking about root, third, fifth, right? Here is the quality of the seventh. That means from root to seventh. So 1 all the way to seventh, that's the interval. And then in the next column, I've indicated both the quality of the triad and the seventh. And in the last column, I've provided some symbols, as I mentioned earlier on the other frame, that guitarists or pianists would read. So let's explore number 1. We have the major 7th chord. The major 7th chord consists of a major triad and a major 7th from root to 7th. Pretty easy to remember. Put those together and we have capital M, capital M. This is what the symbol would look like. That D means I'm to play a D major 7th chord. So D would be my root. Then I'd have to build a major triad from D, and then a major 7th up from D. If I did that, my triad would be D, F sharp, A, that's my major triad, and now I need my major 7th. So if I take the root D and go up a major 7th, I'm looking at a C sharp. And that's my major 7th triad. In number 2, we have the dominant 7th chord. That consists of a major triad and a minor 7th. So if D is my root, what's a minor 7th above D? It would just be a C natural. So in the next column, both the triad and the 7th, it would be a capital M for the major triad, and then a lowercase m indicating the interval of the 7th as minor. Here's what my symbol would look like. It would be a capital D, 7. It could be any letter. It could be A7. It could be B flat 7. Again, the letter just indicates the root. So in this particular chart, I've chosen D as our root. So if I want to build a dominant 7th chord from D as the root, I will have to build a major triad, just like the major 7th. But what's the difference? The third column. In a dominant 7th, I need a minor 7th. So I've got to go up a minor 7th from D, and it would just be a C natural. So now you can see the difference between the major 7th and the dominant 7th chord. I would see this dominant 7th chord in the key of G, because in the key of G, our 5 chord is D, F sharp, A, C. And that's what I was talking about before when I was saying that it sounds like Sol, Ti, Re, and then Fa. Okay, I like the next one because it's easy to remember, kind of like the major 7th. So in a number 3, in a minor 7th chord, we're dealing with a minor triad. So I'll take my root D. Maybe I'll use lowercase. And I need to build a minor triad. There it is. And the interval from root to 7th is a minor 7th. So if my root is D, then I have to travel up to a minor 7th, which is a C. So you can see the difference between number 2 and number 3 already. The dominant 7th has a major triad, D, F sharp, A, and the minor 7th has a minor triad, D, F natural, A. They both have the same interval from root to 7th though. And in the 4th column here, I would simply indicate the minor 7th as 2 lowercase m's for minor triad plus a minor 7th. My chord symbol would be a lowercase d followed by a 7. So I can now build the minor 7th chord. I need a minor triad, D, F, A, and a minor 7th, D, F, A, C. Okay, let's look at number 4. So we have the half diminished 7th chord. Okay, so both for the half diminished 7th chord and the fully diminished 7th chord, by looking at this chart, we see that the triad for both of them are diminished triads. And that makes complete sense because the name of the 7th chord, the word diminished is in it. So we want to make sure we build a diminished triad. So let's do that now. From my root D, D, F, A would be a minor triad. So how would we make that diminished? D, F, A flat. And I'll do it here for my fully diminished also. D, F, A flat. Here's where the difference lies with half diminished and fully diminished. It's in the 3rd column because from root to 7th, it's a different interval. So if my root is D and I'm building a half diminished triad, I need to do a minor 7th above the root. What's a minor 7th above D? C. If I want a fully diminished 7th, then I would need to have my root D and then go up to a diminished 7th. And that would be C flat. Interesting. So, going back to number 4 with the half diminished, let's look at the 4th column and you can see that we have a lowercase d and a lowercase m. The lowercase d signifies that the triad is diminished, and the lowercase m signifies that the interval from root to 7th is minor. Here's an example of what the D half diminished 7th chord would look like if it was written on a lead sheet for guitar or piano players or any other music that you might come across. We have a lowercase d with a circle and a slash through it, followed by a number 7, indicating the slash indicates that it's only half diminished. If that slash is not present, then we're dealing with a fully diminished. So let's put all of these root, 3rd, 5th, 7ths together for our half diminished 7th chord and build it. So our root is D. We need a half diminished. So first we should build the diminished triad, D, F, A flat. And since it's half diminished, I need to go up a minor 7th from D, and that would be a C. Also, I always like to remember that this is a major 3rd. That half diminished chords from the 5th to the 7th, that's going to be a major 3rd from A flat to C. So that the only difference then between the half diminished and fully diminished is, well, you still have your D, F, A flat diminished triad, and now you have to build a diminished 7th from the root. So not C, but C flat. And when you do that, the interval from 5th to 7th is now a minor third. And that's really the only difference between the half diminished and the fully diminished. The fully diminished, that 7th is lowered again. So hopefully you're making some sense of all this. Again, it will become a little bit easier once we start applying this and constructing and building 7th chords. And right now, we're dealing with 7 chords in root position. But then we have 7th chords that can also be written and read using inversions. Okay, we're going to proceed. If you need to still pause and process this, go ahead. Otherwise, let's go on. So let's go more in depth about the major 7th chord. This is an example of a C major 7th chord because we have a major triad right here, and we have a major 7th. And here is a visual of the piano, so you can see that. So major 7th chords are abbreviated with a capital M and a 7. It consists of a major triad and contains the interval of a major 7th from root to 7th. So here I have 2 more examples of major 7th chords, and I'm looking for their name. So in the first one, what do you suppose we call that major 7th chord? Well, just like triads, remember, triads got their name from the root, so same with 7th chords. So once you can find the root of the 7th chord, you can then identify it by name. So this is easy to figure out because this is not an inversion. This 7th chord, both of these on this page, they happen to be in root position. And how do we know that? Because it looks like superimposed thirds. So the root, hopefully you figured out, is F sharp. So our first example is an F sharp major 7. Remember, we want capital M. Capital indicates major. And the name of the second one would be an A flat major 7. These are visuals of the piano keys that would play all of these notes. And what's important maybe to realize visually when you look at the piano is that in major 7th chords, the 7th is kind of like a leading tone. It's only a half a step away from the root. Right here and right there. So hopefully we have a good handle on major 7th chords. Remember, major 7th chords, major triad, and major 7th interval. Okay, now it's going to be your turn to construct major 7th chords from the given root. So in the first line here, those are the roots. We have a treble clef, F, and an A flat, E flat, and a G. Bass clef, D, A, B, F sharp. In the next line, you are given the 3rd for bass clef, and you are given the 5th for treble clef. Without altering any of these notes, what you need to do is now construct major 7th chords using a piece of staff paper. So I'll give you some time to do this, but first let's do 1, 2, or perhaps 3 together. Okay, so let's do the first one together. So my root is F, I'm in treble clef. So first let me build my snowman with 2 bellies. Like so. There's my 7th chord, but I'm not quite sure if it's a major 7th chord yet. What I have to remember about major 7th chords is I need a major triad and a major 7th. So let's see, F, A, C. That is indeed a major triad, and I need a major 7th. So F up to E, that is indeed a major 7th. So I don't need to supply any accidentals next to that first example. We're done with that. You will do the rest for the first line, keeping in mind that those given notes are in root position. But let's look down below, and now you have the given third. So let's do the first example together. So we have a C sharp, which we know is the third. If that's the third, then the root must be below it, the fifth, and the seventh must be above it. Again, I'm not certain if that is actually a major seventh chord, which is what the objective is to build. What I have to do now is make sure I have a major triad and a major seventh. So let's see if I do. A, C sharp, E is major, and A to G is minor. So right now we're not looking at a major seventh chord. To make it a major seventh chord, I would then need to provide the accidental for the G and make it a G sharp. And now it looks as if I have constructed a major seventh chord because I have a major triad to a major seventh. Let's do one example together from the given fifth. So let's do the first one. So I have an E flat, that's the fifth, which means I need the third and the root below it and the seventh above it. So first I put my notes in. I cannot alter that E flat, but what I do know is that the triad for a major seventh chord is major. So if the fifth is E flat, we need to build a major triad. A flat, C, E flat is a major triad. And make sure that from root to seventh, we have a major seventh. It looks like A flat to G is a major seventh. So we're done with that one. We don't need to alter that G. Okay, please finish the rest and we'll go over your work shortly. Okay, AP, I'm going to go to the next frame. And I have supplied the answers, so please check your work and see how you did. Remember what we're looking for are building major seventh chords. So we need a major triad and a major seventh interval. And here we go. Please check over your work now, see how you did. Also, see if I made any mistakes, because it's quite possible. So in every case, I should have a major triad and a major seventh. And congratulations on building major seventh chords. That's only one type of seventh chord that we studied. That's the first type. So the next video, we will be doing minor seventh chords.